Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this fourth webinar of Skills Lab Network. This is the last webinar for the year, meaning network-wide. Just before starting, a few technicalities regarding Zoom. During the sessions, please feel free to raise your hand or add your comments to the speakers in the chat box. Be reassured there will be room for discussing with the speakers after each of the sessions and then again before the closure. So there will be room for discussion. That is one of the key features of these networks activities. Before starting, just few updates about the Skills Lab network. As most of you know, this is a network which was launched by ETF in end 2021 with the aim to bring together researchers and analysts active in the field of skills anticipation we are interested in exchanging about skills demand, skills anticipation, and how future skills are changing. Now we are approximately 750 members joining the network. That's a great achievement, so congratulations to all of us. Regarding our activities for this year, as I was mentioning, this is the fourth webinar. So we already had three before from the beginning of the year to now. We had already three region-specific webinars. One more to come will be on the 4th of December, focusing on the Eastern Partnership countries. This year we also had two peer visits to EU member states, Italy and Finland, where with a group of members we could be exposed to practices from Italy and Finland on skills anticipation, and we had the opportunity to see how the skills ecosystem they work. The new entry for this year within the network has been the thematic group focusing on skills anticipation in the field of migration and labor mobility. So that was, let's say, the main new entry of the year. We are continuing our normal communication actions like through the LinkedIn group. I will include it in the chat shortly, so that in case you are not part yet of the group, you can join. And then regular flash news and newsletters. Now, moving to the topic of today, we are addressing today the topic of graduates tracking as an important tool for skills anticipation. Tracking what happens to graduates after the graduation is key in order to understand how education and training systems are providing the skills needed by the labor market. So gathering data from students, from graduates, it helps to understand how well the education systems perform, where remain some skills mismatches, and how institutions can respond to shifting labor market needs. The topic of tracing graduates is very high in ETF agenda. As an agency of the European Union working with neighboring countries, it's many years that we are supporting the neighboring countries of the EU to put in place tracing studies using different methodologies. There's no one methodology fitting all. There are many, and it has to match the context of a country. Today, we are going to listen to a number of presentations on the topic. I will briefly introduce you to the agenda before passing the floor to the moderator. First of all, we will start with an introduction to frame the topic from the European Training Foundation, my colleague Eva Jansova. We will then dive into the experiences from research in ETF partner countries. So one researcher from Serbia and Morocco. We will then hear about the approach in Morocco on tracking graduates both from higher education and vocational education and training. And last but not least, we will hear the case from EU member states about evidence on how possible inequalities occurring in the transition from school to work, and what are the possible tools to address these. So without further ado, I suggest maybe before starting, we can take a group picture and then we move ahead. So if you wish to be in the photo, just switch for a few seconds your camera, but you can switch it off if you feel like. We take a picture and then we move ahead with the first session. Thank you. And Ada, please let us know when this is done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ada. Thank you, colleagues. So I'm happy to give the floor to Branka Angelkovic, who will moderate the first session. Branka, over to you.
Now I can actually start. So good morning, everyone. My name is Branka Angelkovic, and I'm a facilitator for Southeast Europe and Turkey. And I'm really glad to see you all today. I will be facilitating the first part of this webinar, and then my colleague Ahat Kazimov will take over. Just a few housekeeping points. Please keep your mics muted when we are not speaking. So just to have our speakers being able to present. Once we finish with presentations, use the raise hand function for interventions. I know that most of you also like to pose questions in chat. Please feel free to use this function as much as you like. If we don't manage to answer all of your questions, we will do our best to address them later during the seminar or to write back to you. Just a quick note to our speakers, I will intervene 1 minute before time is up, so you can bring your remarks to a close. And now, finally, we get to the point of hearing the presentations. Now I give floor to Eva Jansova, Human Capital Development Expert at the ETF, who will share actually with us the ETF insights into labor market education interface. So Eva, good morning, and the floor is yours.
Good morning, Branka, and good morning, everybody. So thank you for giving me also the opportunity to introduce the central theme of this webinar, which is graduate tracking. And as Christiana rightly mentioned, it's one of the key instruments that we use or promote for skills anticipation and also for understanding graduate outcomes. So what I will do in the next 10 minutes, I will briefly focus on what graduate tracking is, why we use it, and also share some let's say information on the ETF work in different partner countries, which of course then can be followed up after the seminar because we can share several resources if there is an interest. So let me start with the question, why graduate tracking? As Cristiano already mentioned, in education, one of our greatest challenges is to understand the real impact of our education training programs. So are graduates finding the job opportunities? Are the existing study programs preparing them effectively for the world of work? Or how smooth is basically the transition to the labor market? So graduate tracking is one of the instruments that can provide, let's say, evidence-based way how to measure the employment outcomes, skills alignment, but also career progression. As already said, the graduate tracking is an important instrument which is also supported by different council recommendations at the EU level. So it's one of the instruments that is, let's say, recognized as key to help update education, training, curricula, program offer, and qualifications. And if we speak about graduate tracking, we basically speak about retrospective analysis of graduates that take place sometime after graduation. Now, what I would just say that there are, of course, different ways how to approach graduate tracking. I will not go in detail into different methodologies, but when we speak about graduate tracking, and also this is what ETF, let's say, promotes and support, there are different ways that also depend on the context and possibilities of different countries. We usually see survey-based graduate tracking or tracer studies, but more and more there is a push, let's say, towards the usage of administrative data, the usage of different registries that allows us also to track more and have more up-to-date information on the outcomes of graduates in terms of, for example, labor market status, wages, sectors of work, and so on. In many countries, we have also differences in terms of design when it comes, for example, the cross-sectional studies or panel studies. Where possible, it's always good to, of course, follow the same graduates for a period of time. So if there is a possibility to check, let's say, to check with them and collect data after, for example, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, because this is also how we can really see not only whether they work, but also about the quality and, let's say, sustainability of the jobs that they have. I would also mention that something also that ETF is working on, there are, of course, different approaches when it comes to the institutional setup. We have countries where we have more centralized approaches to graduate tracking, where, for example, the Ministry of Education takes a leading role, but also countries where this is done more at the provider level. So there is not really like one standard approach to graduate tracking, but what are, let's say, the common features is, of course, the target group, as graduate tracking focuses on collection of data from graduates. Of course, the timing is an issue because we are collecting data from graduates sometime after graduation. And typically in whether it's a survey-based, but also to some extent administrative data-based approaches, we focus on understanding, let's say, the job search experience, current labor market situation, working conditions, how the skills are utilized. It's also an instrument that helps us to understand something about the mismatches, be it vertical or horizontal, so whether graduates work in line with their qualification, but also specialization, and also information on further education. So in a nutshell, it's an important instrument that helps us to get information on the skills demand, but also then consequently on the skill supply. So if we move to the next slide, just briefly, if we look at the kind of overview of key instruments that can be used for monitoring of the labor market, we would normally consider graduate tracking as a tool that provides information on kind of that fit to the short, medium-term forecast. It's, of course, focuses on individuals. And what is important that what we see from many countries that often it's occasional, let's say, project-based exercise, not always it's a kind of systemic and systematized, let's say, instrument that is used in the country. So that's something also to have in mind. However, as ETF, we of course promote that it's an important instrument that provides very useful information that can fit and provide input to very many different, let's say, policy areas. So if we move to the next slide, how can such data, let's say, be used? Typically, the data are used for example, career guidance counseling. So very important information for schools, but also parents and future students to understand about, let's say, the future job prospects, wages, and working conditions. It's also an important source of information that tells us something about the quality of education and training. And for those who are, let's say, acquainted with, for example, the ECAVET network and ECAVET framework, the graduate tracking data actually serve as a source for two of the key indicators that are followed at the international level related to the labor market transition, also satisfaction and usage of skills at the workplace. And of course, it's an important source of information for labor market policies, so it can be used by the Public Employment Service, labor legislation, but also gives information on informality, working conditions, and similar. What is important always in the tracer study, and we are very much interested in, let's say, the factors that influence the post-graduation transition. So we are always trying to look at social, demographic, economic context. We want to see also differences between the different fields of studies, regions, and they really provide an important information that can feed directly into the policy dialogue and also policy reforms. So that's on the usage. So keeping in mind my time, we can move quickly to the work of ETF. So ETF has been supporting different countries in, let's say, developing and steering the methodology. Because, as I said, there is no just one fit for all. There are certain elements that need to be, of course, followed when we want to implement graduate tracking. But the graduate tracking and how it is done is, of course, should be fit to the context and also capacities in the countries. So what I can mention that we have worked in several countries in the past. It was, for example, Palestine, Republic of Moldova, North Macedonia, Kosovo. Most recently, we have supported piloting in Central Asia, such as Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan. I would mention especially Kyrgyzstan, where now the graduate tracking is done at the national level for the whole, let's say, vocational or initial vocational system. It's done in two phases where they combined, let's say, a survey of final year students, and then they contact them again about 9 months after graduation to check on the transition. And it's a tool that is very much, used also by the ministry to understand, for example, how to plan, how to budget, what elements to support, and also what schools, for example, to support where if they see some let's say weak points. I would also mention that there are some guidelines that can be also followed and also by the research community, guidelines that have been developed on how to carry out tracer studies together with ILO and CEDEFOP, and can be found also in following the link on the slide. And just to conclude, what are, let's say, the key challenges that we see when we support countries in implementing the tracer study methodology? So, of course, it's about clear objectives. Not always countries have clarity on what they want to get and how they want to use the data. There is always a fight between, let's say, having a good quality and proper length, a questionnaire with proper length, and something very, very short and punctual, which doesn't necessarily give a sufficient amount of information. Institutional setting, so there needs to be clarity on what are the roles, responsibilities, and also, let's say, financial possibilities. Response rate, that's always a challenge that we are dealing with every time that we are supporting countries in developing these methodologies, and of course the appropriate capacities to interpret the results. So with that, I would stop here, and of course we are as ETF we are open also for questions, and also maybe we can share further resources, be it the guidelines, but also several reports that we have from the different countries and different experiences and initiatives that we have supported. Back to you, Branka.
Thank you, Eva. I was just about to raise my finger and say you just have a minute to wrap it up. So thank you for this insights about the ETF work. Now, my dear colleagues, the floor is yours, and I'm looking forward to your questions. You can use both chat and raise your hands. And I see Argenta Placoli. Please.
Thank you very much, Branka. First, I wanted to thank Eva for the excellent presentation. I am here on behalf of Swiss Contact Kosovo, but I was part of the ETF community even previously on different roles throughout my experience. The one that I was nostalgic about while we were doing the presentation on this Tracer studies was when I was acting as the head of alumni and careers office at private provider of higher education here in Kosovo, which was Reinvest College. And I just wanted to share with you and maybe comment on some highlights that I could make, say, an analogy of the findings that you have, even though that role was before the pandemic era, since now we are dividing time like this. But I wanted to share some things that apparently stayed the same, but also some highlights and impressions, if I may. So shortly, I totally agree that usually the response rate remains a challenge when you have to do with alumni students. And in my network of other universities, while I was working and discussed with my peers, the response rate remained to be a challenge because usually students, when they graduate, they kind of lose interest and that kind of attachment to the institution. So sometimes it is hard to track them, but also a technical detail which mattered to us and usually helped us increase the response rate was to contact them throughout their personal emails rather than the one linked to the institutional ones, because they do not open it. Myself, I mean, I never opened emails, or rarely, due to time constraints from the university where I graduated on my PhD program. Now, another issue that I wanted to highlight, I remember that while we were compiling the survey of tracing our graduates, it was a challenge to see how do we measure success. I heard Eva, she said we usually ask students after 9 months of graduation. So is it a success that the shorter time of being employed from the date of the graduation? At our case, most of our students were already employed or in internship programs while they were even studying. Another a measurement of success was we were very much interested to see how our curricula, what they have learned throughout the education, do they match their employment. For example, it was a phenomenon here in Kosovo to see because of this mismatch between what schools used to offer and what the labor market actually needs, which is still a challenge. People who have been studying on management and say information system, then again worked in gastronomy or something similar. And then, if I may, I will also make a dark joke about this. Rather, they said, you know why we have the best macchiato in Kosovo? Because our waiters have a master's degree. And I know that there are many aspects which brought us sort of to this situation, but nevertheless, we were really interested to see whether students who, for example, studied economics analysis for business are working as data scientists. That was considered a success for us. The ones that studied software engineer are working in their own profession. So this is how we measured success, but also one thing that we were very interested about, which we used as feedback then to be included in our for future reference into our marketing programs, but also as advocacy, was if these students were not employed or these graduates, if not, why? And if there are personal reasons like family or moving or other ones, it was fine. But we were rather interested to see what can we do to improve this. And for the end, I would also like to mention cases in which students owned their own businesses or they were entrepreneurs and they kind of didn't, didn't say that we owe to our graduation due to our success that we get, but they also mentioned that a thing that helped them throughout their career were subjects that helped them to do this transit from graduation into their career path more easily. What I mean by this is some good practices that we use from our partner universities, for example, the one based in Great Britain or elsewhere, prestigious universities from Europe. All of them in their final year of studies have preparational courses on how to prepare on soft skills, presentation skills, how to be properly prepared for an interview, prepare your personal portfolio, including your CV, motivation letter, and so on. I know that now this is a different time. We have ChatGPT, but still there is something also evidenced by science that this kind of empathy, the social intelligence cannot yet be replaced by intelligence, artificial or automation.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
For the benefit of time, I would just ask Eva to reflect on the comments and questions that you have made. There were plenty of those, so I hope that we covered them all. Thank you for this intervention. Really, really interesting. So Eva, please, now the floor is yours.
Yeah, I will just briefly comment and thank you actually for
to ask everything. I also wanted to share from my experience, so don't feel pressure to.
Thank you also for sharing this experience, because I mentioned Kosovo as one of the example where we know that graduate tracking has been implemented. So it's always nice to hear. So I would maybe focus on, let's say, 2 points. Of course, the response rate. So I agree, it's always a challenge, and that we see not only, let's say, in ETF partner countries, but also in the EU countries. So typically what we are trying to see, let's say, what are the best channels to reach out student. It can be email, but it can be also social media and so on. So this is, let's say, one of the ways how to manage that. Of course, the work of schools with the graduates and information sharing before they leave. No information that they will be contacted at some point in time after graduation. That's also one of the elements that we work, for example, a lot in Kyrgyzstan. So those are, let's say, ways how to of course manage and increase the response rate. However, of course, we will never, of course, have a 100% response rate. That's I think normal for survey research. When it comes to the, let's say, the success, so the measurement of success, of course, one thing is that something that we could see also in the recent pilots in Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, there is a large share of people that work. So is it a success? Yes, on one side, yes. On the other hand, we see also that despite this high percentage of people working, especially in some fields, the match between, let's say, the profession and the field of work is not really there. So matching, for example, is one of the elements that we are looking very much at, be it vertical, be it horizontal. And of course, we are also looking at the working conditions, be it, for example, type of contract, hours of work. And last thing, of course, is important, yes, the usage of skills. So, for example, soft skills, now again, referring to the recent pilots in Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, while students were very proficient in the technical skills, let's say, element, the soft skills, that was one let's say area where skills were lacking, where graduates were not really prepared to work in a team, to let's say master time management, problem solving, and so on. So yeah, so thank you for the reflection, and I think we will also hear a lot from colleagues and the research findings that they will present.
Thank you for these comments and reflections and responses. So again, please use chat function. You can also raise your hands, and I see a question or a comment in the chat from North Macedonia. The new law on VAT was adopted at the beginning of 2025. So now the VAT graduate tracking is a part of the responsibilities that they have. So I hope that I'm reading this well, but I see that this comment actually introduces the novelties in North Macedonian system in graduate tracking. So thank you for this information. If you have any more, please do share through the functions that we already announced. But before we move to maybe some more questions, I wanted to ask Eva about how this data is used. You mentioned future job prospects and quality of education. And I just came from yesterday's conference on data science, which actually talks about very high impact of AI technologies on entry-level professional roles and requirements for young professionals. So can this data that all these surveys and tools collect can predict how the situation is going to look like and how the quality of education really is here with us today regarding the technological change that is taking place right now?
Yeah, I believe so. That's of course we were looking at this issue, for example, in Kyrgyzstan in the latest survey, to understand also what are then the needs of the jobs where graduates work, and we see, let's say, a shift more towards AI, but also the, let's say, the general digital skills that are, let's say, part of the let's say, that are needed in the current jobs. So we see that the jobs are changing in terms of, let's say, tasks and also type of instruments that they need to use. So yes, I think this survey can give, of course, some ideas. I would say that it's more about what is happening now in the labor market from, let's say, short-term, maximum medium-term perspective. So yes, it of course gives an important information that can also then feed to the curricula, to the study program. And indeed, that's one of the elements that we are looking at, for example, in Kyrgyzstan right now, where we are implementing a second phase of the pilot. So we will also see together with the Ministry of Education, where the gaps are, in which fields, because there are differences between, let's say, the specialization that are, let's say, now existing and present in the country. So yes.
I'm very glad to hear this, given the context we're discussing now. So, dear colleagues, again, if you have any more questions, please raise your hands. Let me see if I'm missing anyone. No. You will have time and place to ask more questions later. Eva will need to leave us soon, I think at 11:15. So if you have any questions for her, please write in the chat or write us an email and we will get back to you with responses. Now, I will give floor to our next speaker, and this is Ivana Prica, Associate Professor at the Faculty of Economics, University of Belgrade, Serbia, and she will present very interesting research carried out for ETF, providing a comparative analysis of two countries, Serbia and Morocco, when it comes to the topic of today. So Ivana, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, here I go. Sorry, my laptop is not performing at its best right now. Just a second. Okay, there we go. I hope you can hear me. Yes, okay.
We can hear the silence, Ivana.
Okay, sorry,
This is
but you can hear me as
intentional.
I'm trying to share my slide, but the computer is slowing down, and I'm worried. The silence is me being worried that it is going to overheat. So I think I got it now, and it's very, very
Yes.
slow. So that's what worries me. I hope it doesn't happen. If it happens and I just blank out, that's what's happened, and I will, I don't know, finish at the end or something. I will shut everything down and let it cool down. Okay, here we
No
go.
problem, but
So
here we, yeah.
these
Thanks.
are my slides. So the heading you have just seen, graduate decision to work in Morocco and Serbia. We have done it, as Branka has said, the study. We have done a huge, a big questionnaire pilot study for under auspices of ETF. The researchers from Serbia and Morocco, and the research focus was on skills and other related topics, including the transition to work. So some of the results I'm going to present to you today are as follows. So one of the questions we asked was about which of the work-related activities participants had during their university studies. We have asked them about bachelor, master's, and PhD course, all three. Here I give you a result from bachelor's and master's. In other slides, you'll see PhD as well, when relevant. So as you can see here, I always give results for both Morocco and Serbia. And if you look here, you can see that in Morocco, the highest percentage of respondents had structured work placements integral to their course. Almost half of them had master's and bachelor's course, and a high percentage of them additionally had a vacation internship with an employer. While if you look at Serbia case, the corresponding fields are very low, a very low share, and the highest share, as you can see, is none of the above. So there weren't any structured work placements and so on. That I need to also underline that it was a graduate survey. when we look at the formal education, did it make the graduates more employable? These are all topics we have just heard being discussed. Here is the results. The result is provided on score 1 to 7. In all the slides, when we have scoring, it's 1 to 7, unless I pay attention to it. 1 is always the lowest mark here. The scale is from strongly disagrees to strongly agree. So if you can see for Morocco, for bachelor's degree, my field of study was an advantage in looking for job, is below negative, below neutral, because neutral is 3.5. So, but it increases as we go to master's and PhD degree, where you have fairly high and grades regarding their employability in relation to the degree they obtained. In Serbia, however, the situation is opposite. The highest degree for employability is in bachelor's degree, as you can see, but the lowest are for PhD degrees. So the additional, and this is consistent throughout the questionnaire, we find out that our alumni, the questionnaire was passed through Alumni Association of Belgrade University. We find that additional levels of education, master's and PhD, were not, and in fact, if you look for the first question, they were below neutral, so closer to disagree. So that is an interesting to observe. Same is for the skills I developed at university, improved my employability. In Morocco, it increases with the level, with the degree level. In Serbia, it decreases, gets slightly higher at PhD degree, but not as high as for bachelor's degree. If we look at the factors of importance for getting an appropriate employment, where scale is now not at all important, 1, 2, somewhat important, 3, very important, we can see that what is really important in both countries is personal initiative in approaching an organization where they wanted to work, and networks of opportunities or opportunities access through personal contacts, including family and friends. This is how they get the employment. How long have they been unemployed since graduating? Here we have some fairly good statistics. They have not been unemployed since graduating, or have been unemployed less than 3 months, is very high. For Morocco, it's 70%. In Serbia is 60%, and unemployment is very, very low for university graduates in both countries. So long-term unemployment is very, very low, which is good. How did they first hear about their current main job? We asked them, and in Morocco, it is mainly they already work there, including internship, because in Morocco, they do have those options. And then what we have seen previously through personal contacts, including family and friends. While in Serbia, it dominates the personal contacts, including family and friends, with almost 30%, which is really huge, and followed by professional networking. And also already work there. What is, however, also interesting to notice, if you look at job center, the appropriate percentages are none. So job center does not work here in either country. If you look at the employment status of our graduates, their job characteristics and job quality, we get the following indicators. Most of them, which is another good indicator, are working in a full-time, of the quality of their job. They work in a full-time job. In Serbia, 88%. In Morocco, slightly less, 56%. This difference could also be due to the fact that the Moroccan sample is younger, much younger than Serbian sample. This is how it happened. Also in Morocco, we see that 22% is not engaged in any working activity, which I haven't decomposed further to see by gender and so on, but could be done. In Serbia, there aren't many. If we look at the current main job characteristics and the contractual basis of it, then we again have good indicator majority, higher in Serbia, same as the previous slide, than in Morocco, working at permanent or open-ended employment contract, 80% in Serbia, 70% in Morocco, pretty much the same percentage. And also what is interesting to see, months working on the current main job is again a very good indicator, because in Morocco, 51 months on average working at their current main job, and 83 months even in Serbia. Characteristics of the current occupation of the current main job. Here we have professionals very high in both country, which you would expect from the university graduates. Then we have fairly high percentage of clerical support workers in Morocco. I can comment on this further if you want me to later, because I don't want to waste time on that now. And managers, 22%. In Serbia, we have also very high percentage of managers. Employers by sector of industry, I have compiled those listed only sectors with more than 3% share, and we come in both countries, right? We come in Morocco with very highest percentage of those employed in education and professional, scientific, and technical activities, while in Serbia we have very high percentage of professional, scientific, and technical activities, which is same as in Morocco, but higher percentage, but also financial and insurance activities are very high in Serbia, which is different from Morocco. Plus, education is also present, but in a smaller share here. What is also interesting, we see some local specificities where we have lots of Moroccan graduates working in agriculture and forestry or mining industry, while in Serbia, lots of them work in wholesale and retail trade, while for agriculture and mining, there is 0% in Serbia, and similarly so for Morocco in wholesale and retail trade. So that is quite different. When we look at employers by ownership, status, and size, we can see the following. Majority of graduates work in private or majority private-owned sectors. The companies in those sectors, in private sectors, 65% in Serbia, 55% in Morocco, and about around 30% in public or majority state-owned, which is not that different. However, if we look at the enterprise sizes, in Serbia, majority of graduates work in really large enterprises of more than 250 employees, while in Morocco, it is, in Morocco, it is more dispersed, as you can see here. There is almost 40% in 200, more than 250, and also a very high percentage, higher than in Serbia, for medium-sized enterprises. Sorry. Okay, there it is. For job satisfaction, we asked them a few questions regarding to their job satisfaction. Before I go on, I wanted to point out that we also asked them about what is their life satisfaction, and we can here see that there is a significant difference between Moroccan graduates and Serbian graduates on this job neutral question. So 5.8 in Serbia and 5 in Morocco on scale 1 to 7, when 1 is not at all satisfied, and 7 completely satisfied. So we asked them about the importance of their career prospects on the same scale, where 1 is strongly disagree and 7 is strongly agree. So we have a neutral point of 3.5. Here we see that graduates in both countries see that the skills employers look for in that they have the skills that employers look for in their preferred job. They score in Serbia fairly high and sort of high in Morocco. Bearing in mind the top is 7 and that neutral point is 3.5.
Ivana, sorry for interruption. You just have a minute to wrap up.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, I will hurry. For job-related values, we can see importance of career progression in their job is much higher, more important in Morocco, and importance of gaining international work experience as well. Where they use their knowledge, they use knowledge acquired in the bachelor's degree in Serbia far more, which is in line with what we have already observed previously. I will now, okay, I'm getting there, so I can finish it properly. So we could see that in Morocco, also high percentage of them, higher than in Serbia, use their knowledge in master's and PhD degree. In Serbia, far less. However, in Serbia, we also see much higher percentage of usage of skills developed in the previous jobs, or opportunity to on the work skill development is much higher for Serbia than it is in Morocco. So university education gives more inputs to the Moroccan graduates, after work experience, on the work experience, and on the work training. It has a higher importance in Serbia. And final slide, job appropriateness and job satisfaction. How appropriate do you find is your current made job, bearing in mind your graduates, your skills and qualification on scale 1 to 7, and what's your current main job satisfaction? For the job appropriateness score on 1 to 7, we find that Serbian graduates find that their job appropriateness for their skills is better than in Morocco. The differences are similar to the current main job satisfaction, almost to the T. So that is also similar to their life satisfaction that I spoke about on the first slide. And therefore, I finish on time. Here you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for keeping the time. So, colleagues, again, welcome. Now the floor is yours. You can ask questions. I find this research really, really interesting, and I have my questions, but I will ask them a little bit later. Is this a shy audience or what? Okay, maybe I'll just warm this conversation a bit. Even I like the presentation. There are many similarities and differences between two markets, but what I really find kind of insightful is personal initiatives and personal networks being singled out as most important factors for a successful transition from university to employment, both in Morocco and Serbia. So we're really expecting this result when you were framing this question, because it tells a lot about our labor markets in at least these two countries.
And business culture, I would say, yes. Yeah. Well, yes, it is interesting, but this, I think the culture in both countries is more sort of communication and personal a connection. So yeah, I was kind of expecting that, yes. If that is the question, that is very quick answer. Yeah. I was kind of expecting that, and I can even sort of dwell further on it in Serbian environment, but I would get a bit political then, so I don't know how sort of kosher it is. Yeah.
How to avoid the response. Okay, thank you. Ahad, I see your hand raised.
Yes, thank you very much, Ivana. Very interesting presentation, and indeed, like two different countries. I mean, not only in terms of culture, in terms of religion, in terms of like geographical location, etc. So, but first question, why Morocco and Serbia? And second question, so what was like really like some astonishing result, or I don't know what you found? Like you say you would like to share with us, like maybe just like one thing.
Okay. Well, first of all, Morocco and Serbia, because we had good relations with Morocco, and also we were looking at the countries that are within this area, and Morocco was like North Africa as an EU neighborhood countries, and Serbia was as an again EU periphery country. So that is the connection. Astonishing results I find astonishing were about the pace, but I didn't show that on the slides here, about the different pace in the two countries. And what was interesting is that more women are employed in a private sector in Morocco, and more women are employed in public sector in Serbia. At the same time, the pays are lower in public sector in Morocco and are lower, in private sector in Morocco, and are lower in public sector in Serbia. So more women are employed in the sectors with a lower pay in each country, which comes out as an interesting finding. And also the difference in pay in private sector in Serbia between men and women is so it's stunning in our sample, and I would really want to go to analyze that further if I could make this study sort of more massive than we managed to get. Our total sample is 300. So I hope I answer your question.
Thank you. I see a question. Oh, I guess this is for Eva. Please do share the link to the tracer study methodology. Oh, I guess for both, that perhaps contains questionnaire. So, Ivana and Eva, whatever you can share, please do.
I think
Ivana, you're muted. Yeah.
I think I have shared a questionnaire with ETF. It was done in 2023. I have, I don't know. I assumed actually today results may be different, but lots of things have happened since 2023. But I don't know if it's online anymore, but I can sort of try to find out. I don't know where we kept it. I mean, I have obviously the hard copies somewhere, so I can look for them.
Thank you. We will get back to you. Any more comments, questions? If not, then we have a swift transition from me to my colleague Ahad Kazimov, who is going to take over as a facilitator. Ivana, thank you very much. Thank you all, and looking forward to seeing you soon, meaning in 2026. All the best.
Thank you very much, Branka. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you very much for ETF for such interesting webinar, and thank you to all of people who are participating, all like bright faces. And today, during this session, we will have Najib Hamouti, and let me give just a quick about Najib. And again, I always mentioning that everyone knows Najib, but still probably there are some people still that doesn't know him. So let me give some brief information about Najib. So he is a deputy director of Africa Initiative at University Mohammed VI Polytechnic in Morocco, and he is also regional facilitator of the CEMED region. CEMED is a southern and eastern Mediterranean region for the ETF Skills Lab network of experts. His fields of expertise include human capital development, career services, evaluation of TWED projects, governance of training institutions, and entrepreneurship education. Najib, thank you very much I'm sure that it will be an interesting presentation, and floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Ahad, and for the nice words you said on my behalf. I really appreciate it. In my presentation, I will focus on graduate tracing from a national perspective. Then I will zoom on, if you like, more micro perspective at a center or school level. Indeed, can you move to the next slide, please? Yeah. In Morocco, we have the Higher Council of Education, Training, and Scientific Research. And inside this council, we have the National Council for Evaluation. And this National Council for Evaluation was in charge of, or is in charge of doing this tracer service of tracing graduates of higher education. And it is quite a big operation, because it includes all the institutions of higher education, and even those programs that we call vocational programs. It means they are higher education, but they have what we call a vocational orientation program. And most of the time, these are degrees 2 years after high school. So the last survey was in charge of, by the way, this operation, we don't call it, I mean, institutionally graduates tracing or tracking, but we call it external evaluation of the external performance of universities. This is the official name of this operation. So what happens is that I had the honor of being a member of the steering committee of this operation of tracking the graduates of class 2014. And the idea is to take this class 2014 of higher education, but the graduate tracking starts 4 years after graduation, which means that we met in 2018 to track the graduates, 2018 to track the graduates of 2014. And in terms of lead time, this is an operation which is also, in terms of lead time, a long-term exercise, because we started in 2018, but the final report was published in 2021. So it took almost 3 years between starting the tracking and also publishing the results. So this is, and the report is quite a real robust report. It's more than 200 pages, 212 exactly. And it covers many aspects of the of the graduation tracking. So, for example, it would deal with the itinerary of graduates in the labor market. How do they progress in the labor market? We will discover their socio-demographic components or features. The major contextual determinants of employment, for example. We will also zoom on the labor market, and there is also a treatment of the aspects of individual determinants of employment, and here it's about really making a profile of these graduates as individual people, not only as part of a whole system of higher education. The report also addresses the challenges to employment and also goes as far as, for example, to mention and to portray or to give a picture about the contribution, if you may call it so, although some labor market expert would not maybe agree with it, but we would also like to know how is the contribution of the informal labor market in absorbing some of these graduates. And of course, there is also some socio-demographic features like gender, age, etc., geographical mobility, and also the duration of inactivity or unemployment. So these are the main findings, and but there is also a work done at the level of the High Council for Statistics and planning, and it is quite general. It only provides, if you like, metrics. It only provides metrics about. It only provides metrics about how many people got jobs, how many are employed. So it's quite. I mean, general. But here we have a focus on the performance of higher education, and this can also lead us to if you like to question the program, the quality of teaching, the teaching provision, etc. Next slide, please. In terms of research, what most observers would say is that the subject of graduate tracking does not attract many researchers. So I found when I was preparing this presentation, I found that there are really few articles treating this question of graduate tracking. So this is a very interesting article from Professor Sukaina Zaki and Leila Scully, and they have done a research about the university with their work, and they came out with very interesting findings. Knowing that I say that there is a graduate tracking at the national level, but there is no provision which forbids or universities or schools or whatever to do it on their own initiative. They can do it on their initiative using their means, etc., to know what's happening to graduates after graduation. So this article is very interesting. For example, they focused on some issues like age, marital status, gender, etc. They studied this, and they found that, for example, graduates with the 3 years after high school are if you like, the least to find employment quickly, while master degrees are more ready for the job market. Next slide, please. And now I move on to the vocational education part. You know, in Morocco, we have the National Agency for Vocational Education, and it is the largest provider of vocational education. So they do their own tracking study. They have a process, but they do it from 6 to 9 months after graduation. And they also do another study, which is more qualitative, where they would analyze, if you like, career progression. They choose a sample from 70 to 80% of total graduates. They use online surveys, phone calls. They can also go knock on the door of the graduates themselves with face-to-face encounters, and they have their own online platforms where graduates can go and fill in the information about their situation at work. I hope I'll have time to present the last slide. Ahed, yes. How much time is left for me?
I think you have like, yeah, 2 minutes, 2 minutes more.
Wonderful. Yes. So this is where I said I will focus on, if like micro level, or what I call experience from the grassroots. I have managed a career services center for 6 years, and I'm giving you my personal and professional feedback about graduate tracking. So in this case, what we were doing is that it was part of our employability strategy to trace graduates, but here we used to do it on a monthly basis, and our objective was not only to know whether they got an employment or not. We don't ask them, for example, did you find a job? You say yes, okay, see you. No, we use this graduates tracking experience or your methodology to also support graduates who are still looking for a job. So most of the time we would do phone calling, and we ask them if they haven't found a job. If they say no, we say, have you tried this? Come visit us, the career center. We will correct your CV, prepare you, brief you. And this operation of graduate tracking was also very useful in getting us feedback from the field about the quality of our training provision. And we get feedback from both employers and graduates. They say, we have a gap here. This is something excellent that we have. We were lucky to have this course, but we didn't have this course, etc. And this feedback is used, if you like, is rolled up or down to the pedagogic team to improve quality of training, and also to update the curriculum. And because this feedback that we get from employers give us, if you like, the updated picture of what's happening in the industry. And as a career center, we also used this tracking exercise to improve our own services as a career center. And during this process, which lasted 10 months, monthly, and we would stop, if you like, tracking the current class in July. We will give a final, say, this is what happened to class, for example, 2018 in July 30. These are the figures, how many are employed. And after that, we continue the process of supporting those who haven't job yet, in case we still have some of them left. And this exercise of graduate tracking also helped us get some precious data about which companies are recruiting more, which sectors are thriving in terms of employment, and also give us the necessary information to do foresight on what's going to happen in the labor market in the next year or 3 years or 5 years. For example, during the pandemic, the automotive industry was, almost in a standstill, and employment or recruitment in the field in that sector decreased a lot. And most of our graduates is to work in the automotive industry. So we were under the pressure to discuss and see what other sectors can we prospect. We had some indirect benefits from this tracking exercise. It helped us foster the graduates' employability. It also helped us understand the labor market. And it fosters also the sense of belonging of our graduates. They were happy that their own school was tracking them, supporting them, etc. And also the companies, when they learn that we are tracking our graduates, they see it something as a positive and as a token of quality of the system of the school itself. And also, this is what I say, in terms of image and reputation. Thank you very much, Ahed, and thank you very much, dear audience, for your attention. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Najib. I really appreciate it. And I ask our audience to think about questions. If they have questions, please raise your hand. But I just have one quick question, just in terms of demographics and statistics. So what's the population of Morocco, and how many graduates you have each year from higher education institutions and from vocational sector?
So roughly, I would say that people who join the labor market from vocational education and from higher education are between 400,000 to 500,000 young people.
Oh, it's a big number. But
Yes.
what's the population of Morocco?
Sorry?
Population of your country?
We are almost 40 millions.
14 million. So, okay, each year you have 400, 500,000?
Yes, yes.
Wow,
Yes.
well, it's a big number. It's a big
Yes.
number. Okay. Okay, any questions? Please raise your hand. And
I think there are questions on the chat.
in chat? No,
Yeah.
it's hold on, just
From Faisal
yes.
bin Ibrahim. I can answer it if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
please. Yeah, please.
Yes. Do you know how they are concretely used in terms of actions to enhance youth employment or youth employability and by whom? Given the result of just, do you know how they? Sorry, Mr. Faisal. When they given this day, it refers to whom? Are you talking about graduates or how they are concretely used in terms of actions? Yes, yes. The results. Yes, sorry. Yes, the result. I mean, if you are talking about micro level, at center level, all these results, as I said, are precious data that we use to improve quality of teaching. Sometimes we found out that some of the courses were really outdated. Especially in the digital and computer sciences, we found that, for example, this software is no longer used in the industry. They are using another one. At national level, the results are, if you like, brought to the attention of the higher council of education, and most of the time they use the results to conceive or outline the next reform of the system. That's why we see some upheavals in the programs, new majors, etc. To enhance youth or youth and by whom other the career center in I mean the career centers in Morocco are not a structural feature of all institutions. Some of them they have career centers, some of them they don't have it, so it's not very general. Some have something which they call observatoire de l'emploi, observatory of employment, or department for tracking graduates, etc. So not all of them they call it career services or career center.
And second question, could you clarify your employment criteria? Do you require participant to find a job in the specific vocational field, or is employment in any sector acceptable? But please, like 2 minutes, finish it in 2 minutes. So,
yes. Yes, I would also start. I'd like Faisal for his question. Very insightful. Can continue off this meeting, and thank you very much. Also, I can for your question. So I mean, the job of orientation, counseling, and preparing students for the labor market starts the first day. I mean, the first day we organize what we call career workshops, and each of these have their own specialism. But what happens is that there are surprises. So students have their own criteria, or graduates have their own criteria. So they are looking for secure employment. They are looking for better wages. And they are looking also for companies which have, if like, a positive reputation in the labor market. So we don't really have any say on that. Although we hope that they start by working in the field of their specialization, but we get many surprises. And sometimes they would even work in a position which has not, let's say, has nothing to do with their prior learning. For example, we have an engineer in production, someone who has a degree in production engineering, who would take a master in human resources and become a human resources manager in the industry, which industries like, by the way. So we don't really interfere in their choice, and it's a dynamic. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Najib.
My pleasure.
And I'm glad that our participants writing questions in chat as well. So it's a good interactive way. Thank you. So we continue our webinar, and there is a next session. And in this session, we will have another interesting presenter. Let me give information about Ms. Katarina Wessling. Katarina is a senior researcher at the Research Center for Education and the Labor Market at Maastricht University, as well as at the Federal Institute for Vocational Education. It's a famous important vocational institution, BIBB, in Bonn, Germany. Katarina, thank you very much, and looking forward to your presentation.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, you will share the slides, right? Yeah, thanks. Oh, now they are gone. Great. Okay. I will already post in the chat some additional information on the project and the results of the project. So I will talk a little bit about the study to work transition. So what happens after graduates are finished with their studies. And in particular, I will talk about social inequality. Please to the next slide. So the main questions that I want to answer as quickly as possible, given the 10 minutes, is: does a degree level the playing field, or do parental income or education still shape labor market success even after graduation? This is a very relevant topic in a lot of European societies, but also in other societies. How much do parents still matter, although the people already have a degree from a higher education or also from a vocational education training institute? I want to do that by talking about the Euro graduate data, which is what I also posted here in the chat. The Euro graduate, you can see all the information about the data, and the link that I posted is an internationally comparative survey. It targets at the moment, only higher education graduates. This is one of the big disadvantages that I see here, because I'm also very interested in research on vocational education and training. But for the moment, it's really only concentrated on higher education. I'm very much hoping that it will change maybe in the future. In the 2022 survey, we targeted 17 or 18 European countries. In the first round in 2017, it was only 7 countries. So we are continuously increasing that, which is also very nice. And that provides the opportunity to internationally compare graduates across countries and follow them up. In this survey, they are targeted either 1 year or 5 years after graduation. So you at least have some time that you can process them into the labor market. And then I will also talk a little bit about why policymakers and of course also researchers should care about that. So the thing I wanted to sorry, yeah. So what I want to talk about is I want to show you one of the examples of what you can do with the Eurograduate data by looking at the question: does the social background of young people still matter even after they graduated from higher education? So this is a little bit what we're looking into here. And please go to the next slide. And with the data, you have the possibility to, wait, it's not really, okay, great. With the data, you have the possibility to look into different outcomes. For instance, here we look at unemployment, and you don't have to understand the whole graph. It's more to show you what you can do with the data. So what we look into here is the risk of being unemployed after graduation. We also control here for all the countries that we have in there, for the fields they studied. And here we look at the variable whether at least one parent also has an academic degree. And here we do not find something. But when you go to the next slide, we look at overeducation, so whether their degree is too high for the current job they are performing. And there we find something. So we find that graduates that obtained a degree, so that we find that graduates from lower social backgrounds without academic parents have a higher risk of being overeducated. And we find something similar if you go to the next slide for the occupational status. So this is not so much about that you understand all the graphs, it's more to show you an example of what you can do with the data. It's not only if you have, for instance, register data compared to survey data, you might be able to look at income, or you might be able to look at probably not even the occupation. But with the survey data, we have the possibility to look at various sets of outcomes of what people do after they graduated from higher education or from education in general. So the examples that I chose here were unemployment or overeducation or the occupational position that they obtain. And now if we go to the next slide, we should not leave it at that and say, okay, this is what we find. We should ask the question, why is that the case? And what are the mechanisms behind it, so to speak? And now you can click a couple of slides because I left that step by step, but I think I don't have enough time to go over them step by step. So I will just, so now you see all the mechanisms one by one. Maybe go to the one where they are all highlighted. Yeah, this is perfect. So as I said, there are a lot of explanations as to why it is still the case that although all these people from all these different countries degree, it still matters what the parents did, what the parents do, whether the parents are rich, whether the parents are educated. And to discuss a little bit the mechanisms behind, one is educational choices. So we know from a lot of research that young people from lower social backgrounds are more likely to choose safer options. They choose, in Germany, for instance, often vocational over academic training. They choose lower status fields. They choose the study courses that do not take so long. Medicine is a very prominent example in Germany because this is what takes a long time and a lot of money to invest in order to be able to graduate and finally perform the occupation. Another reason for young people from lower social backgrounds to be less well off after graduation is that they benefit less from networks. And I found that very interesting. We heard before about Morocco and Serbia, how much people still rely on informal networks. This is still the case also in the more developed Central Western European countries in terms of this effect that you still find here. So high socioeconomic background students are more likely to find a job via personal networks, via parents, via information that they gather from the parents. And then the third reason is also it has to do with prestige and signaling. High SAS students are much, this is something that you know a lot from the US, but this is also prevalent in Germany or in Europe. And also in the Netherlands, we find that they are more likely to attend selective study fields, selective universities. And of course, another reason is also discrimination. I found a study that I found very intriguing is that experimental evidence shows that based on first names, working class names are much less selected by employers than are names that to the employer sound more like an upper class, middle upper class kind of name. And then, of course, we also have aspirations and self-efficacy. Students from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, as I said already before, they underestimate their market value and they apply for safer jobs, which might explain, for instance, the overeducation. And one particular mechanism that I want to draw your attention to for the next 2 minutes that I probably have is geographical and mobility constraints. We know that students from lower socioeconomic backgrounds face stronger constraints in relocating for jobs. They cannot participate, let's say, in unpaid internships during their studies, which then reduces their labor market probabilities after graduation. And they are more likely to be bound to their home regions in terms of the field they choose to study and the location they choose to study. And this is the research that I am mostly concerned with. And now I also show you some examples of other data. It's not only Eurograduate. Please go to the next slide. We have, for instance, one study from Germany, and this is not, we do not ignore West Germany, and Berlin is not an island. It has to look like that because we only have data for West Germany. And what you see here, if you go to the next slide, we look into local study availabilities. This is what you see here in purple. And in the graph that I marked in red is the difference between different social background groups. And the difference, this is what the overlap of the lines shows you, the difference disappears when you have a lot of local study opportunities, telling us that these study opportunities, if there are many in a local area, they mitigate social inequalities. If you go to the next slide, just another example for these mobility constraints. This is a study that I conducted recently with one of my PhD students. Here we look at student tickets, because these are also things that policymakers can attribute if there is a student ticket available. And maybe go to the next slide already. It is particularly relevant for those students from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. So in the study, we compare whether a region is covered by a subsidized ticket for students so that it's cheaper for them to use public transport. And if it is the case, it is more likely that young people from lower social backgrounds apply to university or commute further distances to go to the university that they actually want to go to and not just to the nearest ones. And the last example on the mobility constraints that I'm showing you on the next slide is again from Eurograduate. Here we look into abroad experiences during studies. And here now you can also see the countries that are covered in Eurograduate. Here are the country abbreviations. But as I said before, please click on the links. You can see the 2 links that I posted in the chat there. You can see all the information on the Eurograduate project. What we looked into here is, first of all, you see there's a lot of country differences as to whether students participate in Erasmus semester or a different kind of semester abroad experience. And if you go to the next slide, here we look at whether who is participating in this abroad experience. And next slide, thank you. And here we see this is like a very strong positive effect, again, of parental background. So we see that participation in study abroad activities strongly relates to social origin. And just to summarize that on the next slide, this is why I showed you this measures to support mobility are measures to reduce inequality. And why is that so interesting in terms of data? Because what we did here is we connect the survey data with regional data in order to be able to do all these analysis. And this is a very strong advantage of graduate tracking survey data combined with register data on regions and on countries and on institutions. We can show that mobility measures or supporting mobility really helps young people or reduces inequality at the transition from school or from training or from university to the labor market. So this is, I think, all of what I have to say for the moment. I'm looking forward to your
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Katarina. It's again, like for me, it's very interesting information. You know, like sometimes you're thinking that only, like, let's say our part of the region experiencing such some issues, especially related to economic inequality, etc. But even for me, it was surprising to know that even in Germany, you had such issues and how. But it's great to see their let's say solutions or suggestions. And I think that this is an idea about mobility, about suggesting tickets for kids. I mean, this is really good, and we can even start to implement in other countries. For example, I'm going to suggest this idea in our country for our state vocational agency as well. So if we have questions, please raise your hand and I will ask you to give a question. Or Nikki Obradovich wrote the excellent presentation, truly compelling, insightful. Thank you for sharing. Okay, who else? Any questions? I can see hands.
I'd like to ask one.
Edwin Majidov, please.
Sorry, there was someone else too.
No, please. Floor is yours.
Great. Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for having arranged this kind of an important and insightful webinar. It's my first time to attend this kind of webinar as a member of the Skills Lab Network. Now, my capacity as future skills expert, and thank you very much, the European Training Foundation, for this. It was an amazing certificate, and that's very much important here. Well, I represent the National Customs Training Institute, which is Customs Academy in the Republic of Azerbaijan, and I'm glad to be a part of the ETF network. I've been initiating all our ETF partnerships so far, including in the ETF Intubate project, Internationalizing Vocational Excellence. I know excellent colleagues from this pool and as well as the ETF pool. I personally know Najib Hamouti as well, and thank you very much, my friend, Ahad. I got a question regarding the collaborative schemes with the state employment agencies. All this information is very important, but when it comes to policy design and implementation, to what extent this insight and data are shared by the employment agencies and those public administrations in charge of implementing reforms or designing policies? And what kind of mechanisms have you put in place in various countries, in Germany, in the Netherlands or Morocco and other countries? And you can feel free to answer as you wish. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very
Katarina,
excellent question that concerns me constantly, because I am a researcher working at a Dutch university, but also at a German, more policy-oriented institute. And then I'm working in these large European projects, and I constantly face the challenge that I find it is not enough what we do there, what we as researchers do there, but also what policy does. So I really see there is more need for, as researcher in particular, engage with policymakers. I know, for instance, at Maastricht University in the Netherlands, we have strong collaborations, but mainly with Dutch stakeholders, with Dutch ministries. Then the same holds for the BIBB in Germany, where I work. That it's very German focused, but we have, of course, a department that is more concerned with international collaborations. But I think the links and the pins could be made much stronger. So I have no answer for you in that sense. I just agree with you very much that we could make it much better. Also, in terms of reaching out on the international level. This is why I was very happy to collaborate in the Eurograduate project and this data collection, where we focused not on countries outside of Europe, but at least we focused on Europe and made it a comparative European data set where we really can see and learn from international experiences, and not so much look into our little countries and do not share what is happening around us. And I think this is one of the great initiatives that is happening at the moment, but there should be much more of this, yes.
Najib, please.
Yes, can I take the floor, Ahad? Thank you, Ahad. Thank you very much, Elvi. It's a pleasure to see you all online. Indeed, your question touches upon a very sensitive, and here I'm also joining Katarina in stressing the importance. What I found lacking is that the dissemination was not very adequate, dissemination of the results. I was myself a member of the steering committee, and I didn't learn on real time when the report was finished, and we never received it really in real time. It was, if you like, shared among at the institutional level between the higher council and the government and another vocational agency, but there wasn't a widespread, if like, sharing of the report, which would have been something that we would really appreciate. And then you fall on it haphazardly on the internet that it was published. So what I would recommend is that once, if this study is done again, is that we invest more in dissemination. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So if there are no questions, we should start the next session. Okay, so please, Christiana.
Thank you, Ahad. I think it's over to Chiara, not to me.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi.
Chiara, please.
Thank you, Ahad. Thank you, Christiana, for this. Well, now we're nearing the end of the webinar. We've put in the agenda this moment of discussion with the audience. Now that we've listened to all the presentations, this is a moment for our audience to share further questions, further comments to all the presentations, but also for our speakers, if they want to build on what was presented by other speakers or share, further details about their work. This is really an open space, so anything you might want to add or say, very welcome. Raise your hand, write in the chat, anything that makes you comfortable. Yes, Christiana?
Yeah, thank you, Chiara. First of all, I would like to thank all the speakers for the insights provided today. And the question posed by Elvin a few minutes ago, I think is extremely relevant. And we are actually thinking to organize somehow the network's activities for next year around this question. I mean, how are we going to translate results from research on skills anticipation into policy? So what are the missing links, how the two levels can dialogue, can interact, because the information is collected, is analyzed, it's there. Maybe there is this gap between what are the results available and the step after, which is putting into policy action what is recommended by the results of research. I understand there are challenges. As Najib was mentioning, one of the main points is the dissemination of the results of research. Also, maybe the accessibility. In some countries, it can be an issue of accessibility, or maybe transparency of data, or maybe translating data and results in a way which are understandable to not academics. Because I have to say, I recently attended an academic event where different research on skills anticipation were presented. For non-academics, this can turn to be quite technical, quite difficult. So there maybe how to fill the gap between these two words. This is something very interesting to investigate. I was just I wanted to launch this reflection, because this is actually a challenge, because most of the times data information is collected, analyzed, is available, but it's not used. So I leave it to the audience to comment and provide feedback, ideas, ways on how to address the challenge.
Is there anybody wanted to react to this?
Chiara, there is a question in the chat.
Yes. The question is, were the tracer studies accompanied with the surveys among employers, particularly how satisfied are they of knowledge and skills of graduates? I do believe this might be a question also to Eva, who was left, but then Najib, please.
Yes, if there is no one, I can volunteer. Indeed, what we do is that in my previous position as head of career centers, what we used to do is each 2 years we ask for a specialized firm to do a study reputation study for us. Mission for us. So it's mainly about the image and the reputation. So half of it is for employers and half of it for graduates. And here we get their feedback on satisfaction. How satisfied are they? To what level are they satisfied? At what level? What are the deficiencies? What are the strengths of our graduates? This is what we seek from employers, and from graduates, we ask them about their itinerary during studies and after they join the labor market. So they also give us precious feedback about strengths, weaknesses, etc. And they also come with recommendations to us on how to improve our work.
Thank you, Najib. Yes, Merita.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you again. I just wanted to share with you that we do some tracking at our university with our graduates each year. We do those for our own purposes to see where our students get employed, how fast they get employed, what they work, if their skills are used. And we also try to do some surveys with the companies to see if they have the proper skills, then we can coordinate that with our curriculum. But it will be very interesting if we could expand this kind of research as the ETF was doing, maybe through Western Balkans, and to see how we are doing as a region. Maybe if we find a way to cooperate and find some funding for project to see at least in the Western Balkan countries how we are doing. We know that we have a lot of mismatches, like the previous someone from Kosovo, I can't remember the name, was mentioning. We have similar situation in North Macedonia, but it's also very important what to do next. We have some information, but how to solve the problems in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ivana?
Sorry, can you hear me? No.
Yes.
Okay, you can hear me now. My laptop is again on sort of slow down. So I wanted to say that there was a question here about additional publication that came from our survey, and I'm trying to do it, which is why the laptop is again hiccuping here. I will do it and I will send it to all of you. It is published in the Croatian Public Sector Economics magazine. So it's an offshoot from our study. And I also forgot, because I was confused, to say that the research was done together with me, together with Imane Eloizani, who is from Morocco, from Ibn Zor University, and William Bartlett from LSE. So I forgot to say that. So I am going to give you the link, but not right now. I'm sorry. This is as much as my old laptop can manage. So sorry.
Thank you very much, Ivana. But just as as general information, you will get the recording of this webinar, you will get the slides, you will get the summary, as Christiana mentioned in the chat, and then we will ask our speakers to basically anything they want to share with you, we will collect and publish on Open Space, and then you will get an email about this sometime next week, I'd say. So anything we can get to you, we will. Is there anybody else?
I also
yes,
answered
Katarina.
I also answered in the chat about the question, so that you can click on the links if you're interested. And I also wanted to emphasize, if you're interested in something in particular, please feel free to send me an email. My contact information is also on our project team website, on my personal website, and I'm very happy to answer questions about the research. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I also wanted to add it that I think we can include, when we will disseminate the webinar summary, also the links to some tracer study that ETF has conducted in different countries we work with. I was checking, the most recent was for Uzbekistan, but it was produced in local languages only. So I will retrieve the English version, which will be easier to read, and in case it can be, I think it can be also used as a translation with automatic tool, but for sure we have for a number of countries in English too. So we will include it. We will. Chiara, please remember me to have them in the summary. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anybody else willing to comment or add any other burning question? If not, I think we can move to the closing session. Then over to you, Christiana.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Chiara. Thank you for the floor. First of all, I would like to thank you all the speakers, Eva, Ivana, Najib, and Katarina, our facilitators, Branka, Had, and Chiara, for the latest session, and all the colleagues, participants for their contributions who made the discussion lively. As let's say, to do for me will be to collect most materials and share them across the network together with the slides of today, and also the webinar and the recording, which will be available, let's say, by mid next week, more or less. Just a few key takeaways from my side. We understand and we could see from today's presentation that tracking graduates, what happens to graduates after the graduation is really crucial for skills anticipation ecosystem. These surveys, the tracking, can provide valuable information on the gaps in the education and training provision, and provides useful information for policymakers. So in order to see what are the gaps to be addressed. Of course, there are challenges, and one of the challenges was mentioned in the latest part of a workshop, that not always the information gathered and analyzed are actually used at the policy level. So one of the challenges to overcome may relate to better dissemination, better usage, more accessibility of the data produced with the surveys. We also saw from today that there are different methodologies in place. There can be standard surveys, the approach can be central, the approach can be at the provider level. There is no one fits all solution. Each country can opt for the most appropriate based on their own context. So I found all the presentation really so enriching. We said all the materials will be available in the open space. I thank you really so much for being with us today. You will soon hear from us not only for the materials from the webinar, but also with some information on the upcoming plans for the Skills Lab network. Please keep active in the LinkedIn group. I put again the link in our chat. Sometimes we anticipate information also in the group, especially regarding upcoming activities and events. Now 2025 is almost over. We are planning, we are working on the planning for next year, and we are really grateful if you can share some ideas. We already have some plans in mind, but in case you have some burning issue to share that the LinkedIn, the network should take on board for next year, you are most welcome to do it. Just contact us, me, Chiara, or just propose in the LinkedIn. Thank you so much from my side. It was really great to see you all today, and we are in touch soon. Wish you a great day ahead. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.